Okay, so another comparison video here. In today's video, I have the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, the 2022 model here versus the iPad 9, the latest iPad 9 here. This video was requested by you guys, so let's go ahead and jump in. Now, first things first, let's go ahead and do a quick price breakdown here. Starting off, well, let's start off with the iPad 9 here. The iPad 9 will run you $330. That's the regular price here. Currently, Walmart has it for $310, and that does not include a stylus. Of course, if you want to go ahead and buy the Apple Pencil first gen, which is the one that this guy here supports, that will run you an additional $100. So if you want the tablet and the stylus, that will run you a grand total of between $410 and $430. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, the 2022 model that we have here, will run you $350, and that will include, of course, the Samsung S Pen. Next here, let's go ahead and talk support. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here will be supported for at least the next 3 years, meaning right now loaded with Android 12, you'll be seeing Android 13, 14, and 15, potentially 16. Less likely that that's going to be the case, so look forward to at least 3 years of Samsung support. Of course, what that means is that after the support, you can still use your tablet. It just may not be as optimized. And the reason I'm saying this part is because some people don't know, well, many people actually don't know what that means when you say that the manufacturer stops supporting the device. So that means you can still use your device, you just won't be receiving any new updates, so it won't be as optimized as, you know, say a current device at that time. But anyway, the iPad 9 on the other hand will be supported for up to 5 years. We've seen Apple support some of their tablets closer to a 6-year mark, right? So if you were to pick up the iPad 9, that would be the level of support that you'll be getting here. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on design, starting up with the 2022 Tab S6 Lite here. It gets the same exact look you had on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite from 2020. And by that, I mean exactly the same. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, or if you've watched my Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite 2022 versus the 2020 version, you will know what I mean. So I mean, it's essentially the same tablet that took the tablet and just changed the inside. So you get the same usual suspect power button, volume rocker, you know, webcam here, 5 megapixel at the front, 8 megapixel on the back here. You have dual speaker setup tuned by AKG. Of course, you have a USB Type-C port that unfortunately does not push out video signal. That's also the same for the iPad 9. No video signal out. You have a headphone jack, you have mics around, and that is pretty much it. And you have, of course, the micro SD card that will make it possible for you to go ahead and expand the internal storage of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. By the way, the internal storage is 64 gigs, the base, right? So this model is 64 gigs of internal storage, but you can expand that using that micro SD card at up to 1 terabyte. The iPad 9 here, of course, if you've watched the video that I made actually quite a few videos on this. So if you've watched this, then you know that it's the same old look, the same old, you know, big bezel at the top, and then, you know, on the side here you have skinny bezel. So same legacy look from the iPad 7, iPad 8, iPad 6, and so forth. Same usual suspect power button, volume rocker, and so forth. You have Touch ID, of course, which is one of my favorite features. I always say that. You also have the headphone jack here. You don't have a USB Type-C port. You have a Lightning port, the proprietary, well, the Apple proprietary port there. I don't know why they insist on doing that. And you, of course, have that same 8 megapixel camera on the back here. But here's a catcher, or here's the kick. The front camera on the iPad 9 here is actually a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. This is innovation. This is very, very good. So the front facing camera here compared to what you have on Tab S6 Lite, not even comparable. This is much better. Plus, it does support center stage. If you're not familiar with what that is, essentially when you're doing video calls, you could be moving, you know, and the camera will automatically adjust to keep you within the frame. Or if you have more people coming in or joining the call, then it would just go ahead and zoom out so that it could include a lot more people. And then, of course, you have the dual speaker setup at the bottom there. Very, very bad setup for them to put it together like that. So if you are playing a game and you are covering it, you have large hands like myself, you're covering it, the sound coming out will be muffled, right? So it won't sound as good as, let's say, the speakers that you have here, right? So you can hold the tablet here, the speakers are at the top here, very well placed, and not only that, they sound crispier than what you have here. And then the last thing that we have here, of course, will be the 3 pins for the official keyboard for this. So in terms of differences, USB Type-C port on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, which is more of a standardized port. That is really good because most accessories out there will automatically fit here. Now, here you have a lightning port. What that means is you will have to buy Apple accessories or third-party accessories made specifically for this. So you can't just grab any random USB Type-C cord or cable and just plug it in. So that is a good thing about this one. In terms of just accessibility to the tablet, of course, you have Face Unlock here, and then you can enter your password or passcode in order to unlock the tablet. Face Unlock is not great here. It's decent. It's not great. Whereas here you actually have a super fast Touch ID that securely unlocks the tablet and let you in without any issues. In terms of cameras, like I mentioned, they're both 8 megapixel rear facing camera, but the 8 megapixel found on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, the 2022 model, even the 2020 model, is better. So that rear camera is better than what you have on the iPad. However, the front camera, not even comparable. It's much better on the iPad. Now, talking display here, starting off with the 2022 Tab S6 Lite, it is boasting a 10.4 TFT display. So that same size as the 2020 model, like I mentioned. It looks very nice. Colors are decently pronounced and images are fairly sharp, right? And that's with a resolution of 1200 by 2000. Now on the iPad, what you have here is an IPS display. So that means it's a trim higher than what you have on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, because of course, like I said, TFT display, IPS display, or Retina IPS, whatever Apple calls it. But anyway, a trim higher than what you have here. Images definitely sharper. Colors definitely a little bit more pronounced than what you have on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, and the resolution here is 2160 by 1620. So the PPI is actually a little bit more dense here than what you have on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. And what that means is that, you know, just I mentioned earlier, images will look a little bit sharp, will look sharper, slightly sharper than what you have on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. Now, the problem here when it comes down to, you know, still these displays, is that the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here has a laminated display, right? So there's no gap between the surface, the top part here, and the actual display under that top part. Whereas on the iPad 9, you have a non-laminated display, meaning if you're watching something and it's a little bit at an angle, you can kind of see the gap. You can see the gap around, depending on the person who's watching, it may or may not mess up their, you know, experience, their user experience. Personally, I do not like to have that gap. I like when the display feels like it's right at the top here, because new generation tablets have laminated display. It's unfortunate that we still have a non-laminated display on here. And on top of that, you will notice that the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here does have a uniform bezel, right? As opposed to here where you have a large bezel at the top and a large bezel at the bottom with these skinny ones. And then the aspect ratio is a little bit off here when it comes down to watching movies. Watching movies on here is much better because you have more of that wide screen type of experience. So just my take here. So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when in the market buying either one of these tablets. And also, before I forget, make sure to subscribe and hit both that like button. I truly appreciate that. All right, so covering the actual platform of either one of these tablets, the 2022 Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here is the reinvented model, or the reinvented version of the 2020 Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. On the inside, outside, it's essentially the same tablet. I know I keep saying it, but on the inside, what you have here is an updated chip, right? You have a Snapdragon 720G as opposed to the old Exynos 9611 that was found on the 2020 version of this. So Snapdragon 720G, it is coupled with 4 gigs of RAM, and as I mentioned earlier, 64 gigs of internal storage that you can expand at up to 1 terabyte. It works, it runs extremely well, especially with One UI sitting at the top there. It runs very well, trust me. Now on the iPad here, what you have is an 813 Bionic chip. It is coupled with 3 gigs of RAM, so 1 gig less than on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here. It also has 64 gigs of internal storage, but unfortunately you cannot expand that. So if you buy this and it's the 64 gigs model, that's all you get, 64 gigs, no chance of you to go ahead and expand like you would with this one. So another thing to keep in mind, sure, if you use cloud storage, that type of thing, or if you don't mind carrying like a portable, you know, external storage, then you can obviously plug that in and be able to make the transfer. But it's slower, obviously, and it's a lot more clunky. It's a clunkier process, but just something to keep in mind. So you have iOS 15 running on here, and it is extremely fluid, right? It's very good. You know, I sometimes like to call these big iPhones, right? Because it's the same user experience, except it's on a larger tablet. And even, you know, still, this is actually a nice segue into just that user experience when it comes down to performance. So it's a big iPhone because on the iPhone, you can't do much multitasking. And it's the same here. You could do some level of multitasking, and I keep saying iOS, iPadOS 16 is supposed to have, a little bit more flexibility when it comes down to multitasking. But as of now, with iPadOS 15, it is fairly limited. We all know that software limits, how much you can do or how flexible you can be on the iPad. Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here, you do have access to Samsung DeX, which makes it possible for you to really push your productivity to the next level, like I like to say, right? Because it changes the UI. In case you're not familiar with what Samsung DeX is, it changes the UI of the tablet so that it feels as if you're working on a desktop or on a laptop, right? So it makes it so that you have kind of like a desktop background and you have icons that you can move just like on a tablet. So when it comes down to multitasking, this guy here, productivity, this will, surprisingly, even though the iPad 9 is much powerful than the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite when it comes down to raw performance, but this guy here, the Tab S6 Lite, will allow you or will enable you to be a lot more flexible, a lot more productive, because you can do a bunch of things at the same time. Plus the boost in upgrade, the boost in performance is actually a very good thing that's going to play into that productivity. Now, when it comes down to just utilizing that raw power for something that is very focused, let's say video editing, for example, or even gaming, right? This is just ahead of the curve, like not even comparable to this guy, right? So the A13 Bionic chip is a very, very powerful chip, and you can use that for video editing. GPU performance here, very, very good. Way better than what you have on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. So when it comes down to video editing, obviously you can, render video here much faster on the iPad 9 here. Now, quickly talking battery, it's really going to depend on your type of usage. For me, based on my type of usage, for some reason, I get slightly better battery life with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here, just slightly, even though this is a larger battery, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think this is supposed to be a larger battery. So it all depends. Don't quote me on that. It will depend on your type of usage. So those are just some of the things to keep in mind. Now, let's go ahead and talk styluses, right? So the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, as I mentioned, does come with a Samsung S Pen included, right? But on the other hand, if you buy the iPad 9 and you want a stylus, you would have to pay that additional $100. Now, when it comes down to user experience, hands down, the Samsung Galaxy has a better user experience with the stylus, with the Samsung S Pen, right? It is fantastic. I'm not gonna go into details. If you watch my full reviews on either one of these tablets, or if you watch both, you will be able to tell the difference yourself, what it is like using the Apple Pencil 1st Gen on the iPad 9 versus what it is like using the Galaxy S6 Lite S Pen on the Samsung Galaxy S6 Lite. All right, let's go ahead and stop here, and I'll just give you my take. If you're looking for something, let's say you are in the market and you're comparing these two, you are trying to figure out which one you should go for. If you want something that is just very powerful, the best out of the two in terms of just raw power, iPad 9. If you're looking for something that's going to be very good for gaming, iPad 9. If you are looking for something that you'll be using for video editing, iPad 9. If you're looking for something that has longer support, right, that 5 years that they offer here as opposed to 3, obviously iPad 9. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking for something that's going to offer you the best value, without a doubt, Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, the 2022 model here, because it does come with an S Pen, so it's already cheaper, and you have the ability to expand the internal storage. So if you're also looking for something that is flexible in terms of how you play with your storage, that is manageable, that would be the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6. Like if you're looking for something that is compatible with most accessories out there, so the flexibility to just use any accessory, that would be the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. If you are looking for something that you can use for multitasking, that can boost your productivity, that you can really do a ton of things at the same time, that will still be the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. If you're looking for the best user experience when it comes down to styluses, right? So if you're the only issue, you are just interested on the stylus, it would again be the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. Now, that's just a few things out of each tablet among many other things. There are other things that we can talk about, but that's just to kind of give you a quick summary. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to catch you in that comment section. Make sure that you share this video if you know anyone who is in the market for either one, is hesitating between these two. Make sure to share the video with them. Like I mentioned, I'm going to catch you in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. I'm also going to catch you in the next video, and up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.